Hey everybody, this is Mike LaPone from Symphony X and Mike LaPone's Silent Assassins, and this is SAGAS.
Hi, my name is Josh Freeman. I run DWI Clothing. We do a lot of stuff with SAGAS Metal Podcast. I have a store with all of their merch, exclusive. There's a US, UK, and Australian store where you can get any of their merch. There's going to be new designs coming up pretty soon. Also in the US store, for right now, I have this shirt right here, the original DWI shirt with the print on the back that says "Deal with it." I also have one of the better shirts that's sold so far, the Nap City shirt. And this one, my wife really likes, the Po Daddy shirt. All of these are available on the US store only for right now. But if you're a fan of SAGAS Metal Podcast, if you're a fan of any of these designs, go check it out. Go check out the link. I've set up 3 stores, so shipping is cheaper and faster depending on where you live. And if you guys can get to 500 subscribers on the SAGAS Metal Podcast YouTube page, we can do that even bigger and even better.
What's going on, everybody? This is Corbin, the Serpentine Skipwith, and I have a very special guest today. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rob Sherred, based in Oslo, Norway. I mix bands for a living. I tour manage and I travel the world. Music, that's me. So,
thank you again for taking the time.
No problem.
All right, so let's just start from the beginning, as all stories should. What was your childhood like, and how was that? So how did that influence your music, your love for music? Was there music growing up for you, or?
My older sister got me into rock music from an early age. I used to skateboard, so I always liked those kind of like skate punk bands when I was growing up. And my sister used to take me to concerts. I've got one older sister, and she's like, okay, wear these earplugs, look after your hearing. And that was very new to me at an early age. She would be playing like sax and priest, motet, that kind of stuff. And I would play stuff. I used to look at album covers, because I used to like see an album covers my Maiden and think, wow, that's cool. How does it sound like? So yeah, I guess that's why I like Somewhere in Time, because I like sci-fi stuff. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when did you realize, like, at what point did you realize that you had like maybe a good ear for music, that you had the talents that you later have developed with?
I guess it's my mum's fault. That's why I started. She used to work in administration in a theatre back in England for years, and we could never really go on summer holidays because they were always getting ready for the autumn season. So I used to go in there in the summer and hang out in the backstage green room with all the tech guys. And one day, one guy just said, this guy called Jason Morfitt, just said, okay, you're sitting here for weeks, just come and learn something. And he just showed me this soundboard, and I was just like, okay, that's what does it do? And it just went from there, really. So
yeah.
I was actually going to be a graphic designer. That was my original thing. I actually went to college for that, but
yeah.
I'm not that great with computers, and that's what was all the new thing up and coming with Macs. So I ended up just working in the theatre, just being stage crew, learning as much as I could. And I think sound was the one I really wanted to do, because I was playing bass in a pretty terrible band at the time. So
yeah.
So I just got an idea in music, and I don't know, I'm just a bit nerdy, I guess.
Yeah. So like, I'm curious, like, when the guy was teaching you what he was teaching you, was it an instant click for you, or was it a what the fuck is this? Like, this is going to take me a long time to learn.
There was lots of questions. Because he showed me one channel strip, then showed me the next one. And he said, this one does that, that one does that. I said, but they all do different things. I said, well, they all do the same thing, but in a different way. So that confused me for a bit.
Yeah.
Because this sound disc was a 24 channel disc, but it was a DDA disc, which came before Midas. So this thing was like huge. and there's just me as a kid just going, wow, how does that work? So he kind of taught me the basics, because with my old bass amp, I had like a 12-band EQ on it, so I kind of knew about that. But when it came to gaining, gates, compression, I didn't have a clue. So it was like learn by mistakes. So that's pretty much what I did.
Nice. Where would you say your first big break was?
I was working as a local sound guy. I was still doing the theatre stuff. I was working at a local sound place called the Esplanade in Southend in Essex, and they used to have lots of bands. They had like I think bands like Thunder back in the day. White Lion played there. Pearl Jam played there. It was their first ever European show for like 700 people, 2 mixes on stage. So I was involved in that, doing some audio. I didn't have a clue who the band were. I'd never heard them before, so I didn't know what this grunge thing was. But yeah, so that was probably one of the big breaks. But in the theatre, we had lots of blues artists playing, like one Thursday each month. So I had learned to play with some guys. And there was a band called Reef, an English rock band who did this is how long ago. They were involved in this Sony mini disc thing when that came out. So that is a long time ago. And they played, and I mixed them there, and I didn't really know what they were doing. But it was just trial and error. And I enjoyed it. And being local, crew in a venue, it was always different bands playing all the time. So thankfully, my boss, Glenn Morgan, at the time, just gave the opportunity to learn from him as well. So, and that's what I did.
Nice. What do you think? So, in your opinion, obviously you have the experience and the catalog to back it up. But what do you think people look for returning? Like, what do you think bands look for when in trying to in trusting someone like yourself in to return as tour manager or to return as sound engineer? What do you think? What do you think are the key qualities for someone to turn their head back? Oh yeah, I want him again.
I think it's trust. A lot of it is trust with bands, because I know some bands, because obviously since pandemic, not many bands have money these days. Not many festivals have money, so they're just like, we can get this guy for €100 instead of paying €400 to another guy. Some bands do that to save money. Sometimes I agree with it, sometimes I don't, because it puts me out of work sometimes as well. I think it's trust and having the knowledge, so the band is just relaxed at the end of the day. All they have to think about is going on stage, and not have to think of when there's a bus call or if their guitar's in tune and their techs. They just have to go and be the performer, and that's it. I know a lot of bands who still do it themselves. I know some bands who don't take crew at all, and some do take a lot of crew. It's, I guess if you've got the finances, you can do it.
So I'm curious, because I've always been interested in people like you who do the more, backstage stuff, and how important and crucial it is to the actual overall performance or overall tours. So can you give us a rundown maybe of just how immense your job is when you're touring when you're managing a band? What is all the stuff just on a normal gig that you have to take care of, that you have to worry about, that maybe the average listener wouldn't think about?
Normally guest lists. That's one thing which is overlooked by a lot of venues, so you always have to make sure that's happening. If it's a festival, and if you're flying in, flying out, making sure the backline is there for you, because that can be a problem, and having to do advancing with pre-production for backline can be quite taxing, just to make sure things are prepared. Hotels, flights, shuttle buses to hotels and festivals and back, all these things, stage times, if any of the artists have an allergy like gluten, or they're vegetarians or whatever, all those things need to be looked out for, because some places you get after show pizzas, which is good, but you do get sick of it. But if someone's lactose intolerant or gluten, they can't eat that, so they need a certain diet. So you have to make sure everyone's looked after. So at the end of the day, everyone like who's in the audience going, oh, I love this band, they're great, but and the band's oh, do I have my special milk? Do I have this? I have that. So sometimes you have to, I don't want to say babysit, but sometimes you do. Some artists do need like a hand to work with things. With Carpathian Forest, I just mix them. I don't tour manage or anything. And there's some characters in the band, and sometimes like, okay, we have this flight to go to there. Do we have the shuttle booked for there? And some festivals you don't get anything from when you've been trying to get in touch with them for a month. So you have to speak to your booking agent to talk to them. You have to push in the right direction.
Yeah.
So,
like I was thinking, because, there are some people, and, myself included, because I do podcasting, reviews, interviews and stuff. And like for you personally, do you find that you're most like, I guess this is a bit hypocritical, but do you find that you're most relaxed and you're most focused when you're the most stressed? Stress being you're touring for a band. Like when you have tons of work, do you feel the most switched on, or is it still a constant panic and stress dealing with your job?
I'm used to the stress now. It used to really get to me when I first started in this industry. I used to get stressed out and a bit angry. Now I'm just like, if something goes wrong, you can't do a damn thing about it. So you just have to adapt and make it work instead of screaming and shouting at a local production crew. And they're just like, whoa, sorry. So you just, stress. I don't like stress, but no one likes stress.
Yeah.
But I do the best I can for the artist. Because sometimes mixing a band, sometimes it can be windy, like an outdoor festival, and it just sounds weird because it's called natural acoustics. And the audience are looking at you and just going, why does it sound like this? It's like, well, I don't control the weather. But that can be a bit useful. And with some productions like Wacken, they are very, very strict about you have your 75-minute set. You go over that, you pay a fine. So you have to make sure the set list is exactly just under an hour sometimes for talking and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's stressful with every job.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any, obviously without naming names, specific band names if you don't want, but do you have any like memorable stories of you being tour manager without naming band names if you don't want to, just like something that happened either really well or really badly, a funny memory?
Because I don't want to name and shame anyone or anything like that. So sometime I remember I was working with can't remember which band at Brutal Assault, and this is before I did the Carpathian Forest guys, and Natafrost, the singer Roger. It's two stages next to each other, and I think Madball were playing, and I think I was setting up on another stage, putting some drum mics up, and the singer from Carpathian Forest, I think they were playing next or something. He went onto the wrong stage. Obviously, these guys are doing their hardcore thing, and this guy in like full corpse paint spikes in and just walks on. And it's like, hi, and just walks off the stage. So things like that are really funny sometimes. But sometimes things just go wrong, like guitar amps just blow up in the first song, and you can't do a thing about it, so you just have to kind of go with it. I've never pulled a concert or anything like that. I've come close to, like with some bands, because sometimes the artist is just too wasted or too sick to go on stage, because that does happen. Normally, if you're in a bus for 30 days with like 20 other guys, someone gets sick, then everyone gets sick. So, but story-wise, it's just there are things you can say, things you can't say. I don't want to put names, anything like that. So
fair enough. That's fair enough. Do you have any, like, because there was an article that came out recently, I forgot who posted it, but that people are saying that in recent times the fans themselves who attend these live shows are starting to get more irresponsible, more selfish, more like they're not behaving properly at concerts. I remember reading an article about it, about people misbehaving or people acting up, and how people aren't respecting the the etiquette of a live show, anymore. And I haven't been to a live show in years, but have you noticed that at all when you do tours, like how fans are being more maybe riotous or more disrespectful, selfish?
I have seen that on some occasions. I don't want to sound like a dick or anything, but in Europe, I would say that the fans are spoiled because there is so many festivals and it's always the same lineup pretty much. And you always get the guy going, "Oh, I saw these guys 2 weeks ago. I'm just gonna give them the finger and walk away." It's just like, well, okay, it's up to you. You've bought your ticket. You can do whatever you want. So
Yeah.
But you do get some. That's how I think about Europe. But then you go to Latin America when the fans just want to see the band. I was in Mexico a couple of months ago with a Swedish band called Kraft, and it was the first time they've ever been there. And it was a new experience. Then there was people waiting outside the hotel for them for autographs, and they were just like, "We're kind of famous. This is weird." They didn't act like rock stars, but it was completely new to them, and the audience were fantastic because they're in Latin America. They're passionate about music, and they don't act like dicks. They had the circle pits. You get the stage diving. Sometimes you get the fights because there was a fight at one of the last shows in Mexico City, and it was two girls fighting, which I don't often see, but they were, I don't know, fighting about something. With some of the crowds, I was in Lithuania with Uga Hall on Friday. One of the guys, the drummer, said he threw down a drumstick to a girl. The next thing I know, this big guy comes over, grabs it, and apparently there was some kind of fight after that as well. So
yeah,
but I do think that some of the fans are spoiled. So
yeah,
with the touring circuit now, the bands are doing the same bands doing different festivals. I don't know how many times I've seen certain bands play this year so far. It's like, oh, it's these guys. I'll see you in 2 weeks at another festival with a similar lineup. So
yeah.
So,
Wow, you're living the real life of a rock star. This is the real rock star life, touring nonstop. People don't think about that. They think it's all lavish and you're rich and you're famous, but no one thinks about the effort and the constant show after show after show and preparation.
my friend of mine's my best friend, Spectrum guy. He keeps calling me rock star, and I'm just like, I'm the guy at the back of the room. Like, if it sounds good, no one cares. Like, cool. But if it sounds bad, that's when you get the attention. And I don't. So.
Nice. That's good.
I don't know how many times I've traveled the world with bands. I've been doing this since I was like 15, and I'm 49 next month. So I've been around a while. But a lot of people say, "You've traveled the world. How was it? What did you see?" And it's like, mainly it's hotels, venues, airports. That's it, really. So a lot of people just think, "Oh, it's a holiday." It's like, well, I wish it was, but it's not. Because I went to China about 15 years ago. I'd never been there before, and we didn't have a day off. There's so many things I wanted to see, but a lot of the time we were looking out airplane windows or train windows, just saying, "Okay, that's the countryside," and that's it, really. So,
do you find that like someone in your position, do you get like homesick a lot? Like, whatever home you're in, like your house, like, do you find it annoying or frustrating that you can't just stay in your house? You're always traveling. Is that a big thing for you, or are you just used to it?
I'm just used to it. I'm used to traveling. I think I've been away every weekend for the last 2 months now, and this weekend I'm not away, but I'm actually going to be working in Oslo, being a house guy for a festival. So I'm used to it. I don't have kids. I'm not married, so I have a girl, but she's got kids, and she does her thing. I do my thing. So we see each other when we can. So
See, that's what I was saying before. When people want to get into this profession and become a rock star or musician of any kind, this is the stuff they have. I mean, like, obviously the people, like you doing the real work behind the scenes, but even the artists themselves, it's never a holiday. I can imagine it's always either writing, producing, releasing, touring. It's just a never-ending cycle. It must be.
Yeah, a lot of the bands I work with, I work with a lot of older bands and some newer bands. And the older bands, they'll have jobs. They're all married, they've got kids, and they're just like, they don't want to tour anymore because they did that stuff in the 90s. So they'll just do the festivals, then some club shows, but it's like, okay, we're not doing any longer than 3 days. We just want to have our lives and just not be cooped up in a bus, which I get. Some of the older bands I work with, they're just like, let's just tour. So it depends, because obviously I don't have kids, but a lot of people, they do miss their kids. There's a band from Japan called Psy. The singer and the guy in the band, they're married and they bring their kids on tour with them. And I've seen these kids grow up. And George from Cannibal, he's the godfather of one of the kids.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, Uncle George Corpse Grinder. Yeah. But yeah, I've seen these kids grow up, and I'm going to be doing a tour with Psy this year. I know Nick is coming to a couple of the shows, but I don't know if the kids are coming. But every time I go to Japan, the kids always come along to the show, and when they're performing, they have the babysitter with them, who's always looking after the two kids. And I don't mind the kids; they're very well behaved, and I've never heard them screaming, shouting, or crying. They're just lovely kids, and they understand that mum and dad do this for a living. But it isn't their living. They're both professors of like quantum physics and stuff. So they have serious jobs, but they tour every few years.
Yeah.
To give the kids a chance to grow up and just like, hey, where are we going tomorrow? We're going to Europe, or we're going to the US, or wherever. So
that would be pretty cool, I can imagine.
Yeah. It is a bit weird, like, because I remember when I first met the guys and I was doing a tour with a Norwegian band called In the Woods, and this guy just came in with this double buggy. I was like, okay, where's the bus? It's like, kids on a bus? Then I met Mira and Mika, and they said, okay, we have our kids. Do you mind? It's like, it's different, but okay. And the kids were well behaved. And that was 10 plus years ago, I guess now. So.
Wow. You must have so many stories, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of boring stories, to be honest, but yeah.
Still, stories nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've also so obviously you got your hands full with the tour manager side, but the mixing side, what's that like? So do you have a certain tradition or a certain thing you do to get yourself ready to mix a different album or like a different artist?
Well, I mainly do live. I've always been a sound engineer. The tour manager thing that came later because with one band I used to work with, I was the one just giving the money at the night because the guys were so drunk they couldn't stand up. So I'm just like, okay, I've got this money, it's theirs. I'll just put it in my bag. Then at the end of the tour, it's like, here's your money. Like, great, can you do that each time? It's like, okay. And I was kind of thrown into it, but a lot of jobs now they want like double duty with some bands. I'm doing that with Dark Angel at the moment. I'm doing tour managing and mixing, and it is a bit stressful because I'm not saying the band are demanding, but they know what they want because they've been around such a long time. So when it comes to advancing, it's like, okay, we want this, we want that. There's like Ron the singer, he likes to have his tea for his vocal cords, so we have to make sure there's a kettle and chai tea for him in the dressing room, stuff like that, which is fine. That's part of TMing, but overall, I prefer mixing live. That's my main thing. That's what I've always done, and it's anything I really enjoy doing. So I mix all kinds of music, really. So
I was gonna say, like, have you ever been, because obviously you're a veteran in this, you've been doing this so long, there had to have been points when you're talking to bands and you must have been like, look, I have this much experience, I know what I'm doing, trust me. Like, like surely there must have been times you're like, I know what I'm like, you chose me for a reason.
Yeah.
Fair enough, there has to be.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. I don't want to play the, hey, I'm an old experienced guy card, but I'm going to play that card just to say, like, listen to me and things will be done.
Yeah.
Because with some bands, they're up and coming, then they get a bit of like a popularity and they go, oh, great, we can just do this all the time. Let's just party. It's like, guys, we need to leave at 4 a.m. And if you guys are into your, let's say, party things, make sure they're not in your pockets or luggage because we're going through security and stuff like that. So, yeah. But the whole drug thing is not for me personally. It happens.
Yeah.
But it's not for me. So,
you're the wise one. You're the old white sage or wise sage.
I tried to be. I even got to stage of the last tour. I did. I think it was a month in Europe with Owada, the American guys, and I just can't drink beer on tour anymore. I just get so bloated. So I got into red wine. So and they're a good bunch. They're great guys to work with. They're very professional. They're not demanding in any way. And the support band, they just wanted weed. They're Danish. They got weed themselves. There's no way I was going to go and be a drug dealer. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Some bands do listen to your experience, and some bands just assume, oh, we can do what we want. So yeah, you never really know. So
I've been seeing, I was looking at, the bands you've worked with, and like all that, and I realized that you work with a lot of black metal bands, and there's a lot of bands like Carpathian Forest and Mayhem. Those two really stuck out to me because I grew up listening to them as a teenager. When I discovered Norwegian black metal, those were my two, and Gorgoroth, like Dimmu Borgir, all that those kind of bands. What's it like working with a band like Mayhem or Carpathian Forest?
Well, Mayhem I used to mix back in the day. I did them for a couple of years or so. I'm still really good friends with most of the guys. I was doing Act Tours, so it's still Hellhammer, Jan Axel. Carpathian Forest, I still do. I was with them on Thursday in Spain doing a festival. With that band, there's ups and downs because obviously with the singer, he was a heroin addict for many years. And he doesn't do that stuff anymore now, which is great, but sometimes he doesn't really know what's going on. So he just needs to be led along. But live-wise, they're great. They do have an album ready to go, but it hasn't been released yet. And they're more kind of rock and roll now, I guess.
Yeah.
They've been doing the Black Shining Leather set because it's been 20, 30 years or something of it. But they're great guys to work with because you see the guys on stage and like a lot of these bands, you think, well, they look really scared. You see them off the stage, they're just like idiots like you and me. They're normal people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Has there ever been a black metal band where their sound matches their personality? Where you've been like, oh shit, like this is the real deal?
I used to think that about Watain. Because when I first saw Watain, I saw these guys all walking in a line with like the vests, the hoods and stuff in a line. I saw them, I was just like, wow, that's a lot of blood and fire. Not my thing. And I actually met the guys, and I was like, they're actually nice guys. But I'm not really into black metal. That's the thing. I work with a lot of it. I guess living in Norway, I'm more of a death metal guy. I always will be, and I tend to mix black metal with a death metal sound. Always a lot heavier. There's bass guitar in the mix. Try not to put too much triggers in the mix because it's just silly sometimes with some of these bands. So I just treat every band as a rock and roll band, really. If they're stoner, black, death, doom, whatever, is a rock band at the end of the day.
That's true. I actually had an opportunity the other month to interview the drummer of Cannibal Corpse, Paul.
Oh, he's awesome. Really, really nice guy.
Shocking. It's
super guy.
Like I was saying to my friends, it's like it's weird because I've been growing up listening to them since I was a teenager, and it's like they have this image, this brutal image, and then you talk to them, and they're like as you said, they're like you and me. It's like what the fuck, like that's
yeah. Oh, Paul's an awesome guy. I haven't seen him. I saw him about 3 years ago at Hellfest, and he's great. I met him years and years ago because my old band supported them, my old venue back in the UK, and we were terrible. We were playing with Cannibal Corpse, so we were just like, this band are awesome, and I've kind of known Paul since then. So there's some bands have this image of being, let's say, death metal legends. I guess that you got the bands like Autopsy, the Bolt Thrower guys, all those kind of bands. These guys I've known since the late 80s, early 90s. So I'm fortunate to say they're my friends and I work with them. So they're like Carl and Whale and Frank Healy, like the old Birmingham boys. They just like to have fun and just play music. That's just them. Autopsy guys, exactly the same. They're just normal people.
Yeah.
Same with Cannibal. They're all normal people. There's no rock star with any of those guys. They're just like, we just do our thing, and that's it. So, and a lot of the older bands, they have a lot of respect for the same generation, like the Immolation guys are great friends with the Autopsy guys, vice versa. Every time we see each other at festivals, we're hanging out, having some beers. And with the black metal bands, it's kind of similar to that as well.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. You know, as someone who does obviously live mixes and you're always on the road, is there any common mistake that, so let's just say a new band's listening to this podcast eventually, and what kind of, I guess, pitfalls and mishaps can you help a band avoid live? Like, you know, is there any common mistakes they make, any common just small things or big things that maybe a band should take into consideration before performing live, or how to treat backstage crew, or just anything like that?
I'm always cool with people. If people are cool with me, I'm cool with them. I try not to get like, I've told you to do this, but a lot of the younger bands, they just assume you know their input list, you know their stage plan, you know their monitors, and I always make always do a thing and say, okay, let me know your input list, so we have everything set up. Is your drummer left-handed? Because a lot of the times they don't tell you, and if they're second on, like a main support out 3 bands, the whole drum kit needs to be changed. And that's happened a few times when I was with Dark Funeral, because when Dominator was in the band, guy's left-handed, and you got a guy in the first band to say, but I have to do this myself. He's like, but did you read the group chats or the emails? And it explains why we're doing it this way. And with some bands, it shows a lack of experience on the road, and they just go there and just assume we have this. Because some bands riders are ridiculous, the amount of things they want, and with a lot of festivals and venues that they don't have the budget for it. It's like Hellfest, you would get your 2 bottles, like bottle of red, bottle of white, then you get the beer tokens, then you got the catering, and that's it. You don't have like the fridge full of 800 beers or whatever some bands want. So, because some bands actually want like packs of cigarettes on their riders, underwear and socks. So I know one band who used to have underwear and socks on their rider because they were touring so much, which you can understand at the end of the day, because it's not like you had time to go to the local store and buy supplies and stuff you need. It's trial and error. It's just learning. I have a friend in Oslo who's going out on tour for the very first time next year, working for some bands, being the radio mic guy. And I've already told him, it's like, okay, you're doing 15 countries in a month. You need to find out what frequencies are legal for radio mics. If not, you're going to get fined. It's like, I have to do this. It's like, yes, you do. It's just basically doing your homework in advance.
Yep.
And some new bands do that, and some do not. Because some of the newer bands, they do act like they're rock stars. But half the time they're just turning up and saying, oh, I thought you were going to bring the power supply for the camera. Because it's different countries and having a power supply. So when we went to Mexico with Craft, he said, get yourself a converter, which I have this here. Which has everything for all around the world. So I said to the guys, get these. They're like, why? I said, how else are you going to charge your phone? So, oh, how are you going to plug your Kemper in, or pedals or whatever? So just think about that. I just don't say do this, do that. I just try to advise people. So some listen, some do not. So.
That is one thing I didn't think about, is like money currency conversion. That must be annoying, traveling country to country.
Well, a lot of the time, it depends on the booking agent. A lot of the stuff, all the money is advanced to the booking agent, so you don't have to deal with money. But when it comes to merchandise, who's selling T-shirts for you, how much percentage the venue are going to take off you, because that's a big thing these days. And a lot of bands is saying, you know what, fuck you, we'll sell the stuff outside the venue because we refuse to give you 25%. Plus sometimes 10-15% tax on top, which is just ridiculous. You may as well just give someone a T-shirt and give them like $10 and say thanks for that. But when it comes to the money, some banks accept different currencies, some do not. But I've been fortunate when I've been touring. I've not had to deal with merch stuff, because I've always had a merch guy or girl on tour who know the stuff, and they can do like a PayPal thing. So there's something you just plug into your phone, which you can do a lot of Apple stuff. So you've got your card terminal, so it's straight into the bank. And that's a good thing now, because back in the day, you would just be walking around with a big bag of different currencies, and it's like, I need to get rid of this Polish money or Swiss francs or whatever, really. So
yeah.
But I prefer things being paid in advance, because if it's like a 2-month tour on a bus, you just like, you speak to the driver, he has a key for the safe, the only one. You put all this money there, and then just like, I need to get rid of this X amount of money, but you can only put a certain amount of money into the band's account per day, so it can be difficult. But now it's got a lot better. Normally with a lot of the festivals now, you just give them all your bank details. And say, there you go, there's our merch, we've counted it, it says it, you count it back in, you got X amount. It's like, thanks, then, and that's it.
Wow,
that's good. Kind of good with festivals. No one does cash anymore at festivals in Europe. It's a cashless system. Even if you're buying merch, you got your wristband with a chip thing on. That seems to be the thing now.
Yep.
When they work.
Oh, wow.
Even backstage they don't work. I was at Wacken last year on my birthday with Venom, and it's like, great, let's get some catering. They didn't work, so we just managed to talk our way in and get some food, have one drink, then leave. But it was,
fucking hell.
Yeah, it's technology. Yeah.
Like, so they just won't accept it if you have it in your pocket. Like if you had like a $10 note, you can't just be like.
Normally you have to go to like a kiosk and just like give them the cash or a card payment, and they just like scan your wristband thing. That's very common in European festivals. I think Wacken are doing that now. Brutus are Hellfest. I'm not too sure, but I don't buy anything at Hellfest because I don't need to walk around stores and buy a t-shirt or food, because it's there anyway. So
yeah.
So I just use like the drink tokens or food tokens, whatever. So
yeah. When you're touring, what are your essentials that you pack with you every time?
Essentials, always make sure I have enough underwear. One thing I do when I'm doing advancing, I did that on the Wilder tour. I worked out the first 15 days, there was no laundry facilities. So I packed for 15 days, and I told the guys, I was like, okay, because they came straight from a US tour, so they had been on the road for like 70 days or something. And it's like, okay, we're going to be in Holland on this day, it's a day off. I'm going to go and get some laundry on the 5 guys. We're doing the same thing. I can't wear like dirty clothes. It's just, nah. But I always make sure I have like toothbrush, 2 power supplies for phones and tablets and stuff. I always bring a mic case with me, because I know the sound of my own mics. And just have enough, like, sometimes a pair of jogging pants to wear in the bus. Something comfortable instead of sitting around in a pair of like jeans or shorts or whatever. So yeah, it's just the essentials. When I first started touring, the only thing I wouldn't take with me was the kitchen sink. I just took too much crap with me. I remember a tour years ago and took a skateboard with me, and I used it twice in a month. So it's like, why did I bring this? It's just in the way. So I know bands who bring a lot of stuff with them, but because they need it. Like some drummers, they normally have more than 8 cymbals, so it's like 2 cymbal cases. A lot of things overlooked on tours: guitar picks, drumsticks, strings. They get overlooked and go, okay, 1 pack of strings that will last me a week, and you break a string in the first song. I don't have a string or whatever. So just pack the essentials. That's the thing. Try not to overpack. And sort of like protein, vitamin supplements. I always take the pills and stuff like that, because you never know when you're going to have all the proteins, because a lot of the place, they just like, okay, there's some money for a buyout. There's no catering here. There's a McDonald's down the street, and I would prefer to have a home cooked meal than fast food.
Yeah.
So yeah, just as long as you stay healthy, because when you get sick on tour, it's hard.
Yeah.
I've been really sick on tour, and I've just like, I want to go home. But that happened with a Dark Funeral tour. We were in Japan for a couple of days. Did some big festivals there. Then flew to Taipei and played with Blind Guardian, which was a strange gig. Then we flew straight to Denmark, and we had Christian out with us for 30 days. And I got a bad cold. The singer got a bad cold. So that first 4 or 5 days in Europe was hell for the both of us, because we just felt so sick. So we just went to the first pharmacy and just bought as much vitamin C and vitamins as we could, and it was good. But it's just getting sick on tour is just never a good thing.
Yeah, sounds like hell.
It can be, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fucking hell. You know, an interesting question that I would like your opinion on. How do I word this? You know how you have such great artists, for example, David Bowie. David Bowie or Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, who were notoriously high on drugs, but they made some classic music. It's like, do you think, there's the argument that, even though drugs and alcohol might destroy a person, that might enable them to make the masterpieces they otherwise wouldn't have made. Do you have like an argument on whether someone's, I mean, this kind of sounds selfish, but if someone's personal being is more important with a mediocre career, or let them risk making a few masterpieces? Yeah.
It's 50-50. Yeah, because you've looked at some of the artists like John Bonham. The guy was like, God, he was just an animal, but his playing was just, there's not been anyone, in my opinion, who's played the same as him.
Yeah.
And why would you try and duplicate that guy? With the drugs things, like you have Bowie, like, look at the Rolling Stones, still around. Aerosmith, like, I'm surprised those guys haven't died. But look at Lemmy, he got himself healthy, but then he just deteriorated in the end. So, because I don't know if he carried on doing the drugs after he was told not to. I don't know. I've never worked with Motorhead, never will. But I saw him a bunch of times. I saw Motorhead at their last few shows, and I had to walk away because it was just like, wasn't good.
Yeah.
But you have some artists who have been like sober. Look at Guns N' Roses, Slash and Duff. They gave all that up now, and apparently they're playing really well on stage now.
Yeah.
Not so much with Axl, but I hadn't seen them. So.
Yeah. To me, it's always an interesting. It's always an interesting argument, because you hear such masterpieces, and from different bands who were on drugs at the time making it, and it's just like, it sounds so good and like, you think, would they be able to make that without it? Would it have come across as well received without the influences? It's always like a.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. If you look at Jimi Hendrix, he did a lot of acid. Because I remember, I think I heard a story that Lemmy was his guitar tech in England when he first went to England, and they were like just seeing how much acid they could take before a show together, and it's just like, wow. As I said, for me, drug-wise, never been into it. So I know people who do like their weekend stuff, but it's 50-50. I'm for it and against it. Because sometimes, like, when it comes to live, when you have someone in a band who's may have taken the wrong thing or drank too much, it's really hard because the crowd see that, and you've got someone who's basically off their tits on whatever. And that for me, live wise, it's hard. In the studio, fine, you can stop it, record it again, but live, you can't go back. There's stories about guys being so wasted on stage, falling over. That's never going to stop. So,
it's actually
for me, I always try to get the best out of the artist, but I can't say don't do this, don't do that, because at the end of the day, I'm not their mother. I just try to advise them and say, okay, if you want to get messed up after the show, do that. Bus calls at this time. See you on the bus. But I've never been the guy to say do this or do that. At the end of the day, I'm being paid to do a job from them, so that they're my bosses, but I'm also their boss as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want the best out of the artist. Same with crew as well. I've been on tour before, and we've had a guitar tech who was just drinking and drinking every single day, giving the artist their guitar, which is completely out of tune. And it's just like, wow, okay. So I always give people 3 chances, and it gave this guy's last chance. It's like, oh, it's okay. They can tune it themselves. It's like, but this is a known band. It's not like you would have Jimmy Page going on stage, just like playing a song, just going, yeah, I'll just tune my guitar. Give me 5 minutes. It's just like, you don't have to see that. And I won't say the artist, I won't say the crew guy, but I had to send him home.
Yeah.
And get someone else in because the band were complaining to me about it, and it's just like, okay. He just thought it would be, oh, whatever, you're not going to fire me, and then went, there's your ticket home, we're going to drop you off. Sorry. Hope you learn from your mistakes. So, that was years ago, but I've seen the guy since then. It's oh, I'm sorry, man. It's like it happens, but repeatedly it gets a bit too much. So.
Yeah, you were the responsible one in that situation, so.
At the end of the day, when you're on tour with a couple of bands longer than a few days, you become family, and as we all know, families have ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like, your brother-in-law could be like, oh, I've had some bad news about work, I'm going to have a drink. And you think, oh, okay, I'll look after you. It happens. And sometimes on tour, you get sick of seeing the same faces every single day. So some people in bands is like, you know what? I'm going to go to a gym. It's like, cool. I'd like to do that too. And they're like, I want to go on my own. It's like, okay, fine. I'll find somewhere else to work out or whatever. Because at the end of the day, you're literally there the whole time with each other. So, I don't mind it. I take my music with me, or take a book to read and just do my own thing. Or sometimes, like when I was in Mexico, the craft guys were going to the venue to do a signing session. My friend came along and just said, do you want to go for a good meal? It's just like, yes, please. So me and him and his friend went out and had some really nice food in Mexico. So that was nice. It was different. Because normally, a new catering could be whatever. Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes it's not so good. But it's always nice to do different things on tour. I know with the Dark Funeral guys, I'm not with them anymore, but I'm still friends with the guys. Andreas, the singer, he just likes to explore. He's like, I've never been to this city before. It has culture. And him and the bass player was like, let's go and explore and do different things instead of just sitting in a hotel room waiting for a sound check. And because with touring, it's a lot of waiting around. There's a lot of sitting and waiting. You do the sound check at, say, 3 PM, and you're not playing until sometimes midnight. So you're just like, what should I do? And that's why some bands, I'll just have one beer. I'll have another beer. And some bands like, you know what? I'm gonna go for a run. I'll go swimming. I'll go to the gym, or I'll explore. Go and see a museum. Get some culture in your life instead of,
A question I just only thought about now, which I didn't think about, someone in your position, but how do you deal with, because, you just said you guys, like bands will have a time limit, obviously, strict time limit, they're on and off. What do you do with people who, like, when the fans scream encore, or is that counted into the time?
Well, normally, because if it's a festival, you've always got a stage manager. And if you see the crowd just going, wow, this band, there's normally the stage manager gets on a headset and just speaks, and there's a little speaker next to the sound desk and say, okay, they're going to do one more song. So I'm prepared, because as soon as the band finish, they walk off the stage, I'm ready to play the outro. Then I'm just like, should I play it now? Okay, they're coming back on. And on the stage manager's like, cool. And sometimes he's like off, and it's just like, well, we're the last band playing. So does it really matter? But festivals are very strict. They have a big digital clock on the side of the stage. As soon as you start, it counts down. So a lot of people playing and just go, okay, we've got 5 minutes. We might have to drop a song, because there could be a lot of talking. Things could go wrong on stage, or your singer's stage diving and he's crowd surfing for half the set and you need him to come back. Things like that happen.
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, you're there to entertain people.
Yeah.
There could be some bands that you just watch there, just go, oh, I just want to see the main band. It's like, I don't know, when I've seen big, huge arena bands, have I really stayed and watched the support band? Not so much. I should show support, but I'm just like, do I want to see this band? I just want to see the headline band. So.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's always parodied, I always see, across all media, movies, TV shows, cartoons, you always see it parodied of a band goes on stage and then one of the members, normally guitarists, will just break formation with like a 20-minute solo or like a freelance solo or sometimes a drummer, and then it just turns the whole band.
I've never experienced that, thankfully. Like, you don't really get people doing like drums and bass guitar solos in black and death metal. Thankfully, because that would be like, yes, you can play, but do we really want to? Well, there has been. Sorry, the earbuds are falling out there. When I did Wacken with Balkangar, they had a new drummer, and he did a drum solo. He was like a wonder kid. His name is Bord Kolstad. He plays in Leprous now. He's done really well for himself, and he started off just playing drums in the street. And he did a drum solo, and I was just like, oh, okay, fine. He just did it because the singer went drum solo. I was like, oh shit, okay, fine. But he was all right. They had to cut a song because he did his solo, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but not everyone wants to see like a 5-minute drum solo, to be honest. But yeah, but he can play. So that's the thing. So that's the only time I've experienced it, and I was laughing. I was like, all right, fine. Yeah.
I remember the one time I saw the band Sleeping with Sirens, American band, and I was there, and they were the main event, and the lead singer in one of the songs, it was a long scream vocal, and he had to cut it in half, and he was like, sorry guys, he's like, whew, and thankfully the whole crowd was laughing, they're just been entertaining, and he's like, let me try it one more time, and he did it. Like, it's just funny when I see little hiccups like that in live, because it's live, it's not studio, you're going to get that sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I like about live, because some bands, when I did this Dark Angel show a few weeks ago in Poland, we were main support for Gojira, and they have such a setup on stage. They have their production is just ridiculous, but it looks so good and it's so well rehearsed. And I was just like, it's like I like watching Metallica. Metallica, I haven't really been into since I was a kid. I respect what they do, but for me, it's too rehearsed, I think, and it's too polished and stuff, because you've got these big. Like I saw Slipknot years ago, I think like 5-6 years ago in Belgium. Where we walked down, the singer does this thing, everyone sit down, and I was just like, no, it's muddy. I'm old. I don't want to sit on the floor. They're like, oh, sit down. And when he says get up, you get up, and I'm just like, there's no, it's not going to get muddy. And it's like, but it was so well rehearsed. But with some bands like Carpathian Forest, there was a lot of humour in that band, especially with the lyrics for the new songs they've got. And you never know what Roger's going to say. Roger says some really, really funny things. And sometimes he forgets which country he's in, which is really funny. Because we were in, obviously, Spain at this Resurrection Fest, and I think Pantera were headlining. And he said, Guten Tag, Sverige. And that means like, hello, Sweden. He meant to say hello, España, but he got a bit confused. But things like that is funny. It's like with the Autopsy guys, they're having fun on stage. And that's what I think about having the whole polished band thing. There's no humour, but with like the Autopsy guys, like most of the bands I work with, wasn't so much with Dark Funeral, because they do their thing. There isn't really room for jokes with their music and stuff, but mainly the death metal bands, that they have fun and they laugh, and the audience sees it and they kind of feed off it. It's like they're having fun, I'm having fun too, and that makes a great concert sometimes. The singer could just tell a joke or whatever, or the guitar player will start playing the wrong song, and they'll just look at each other and they're like, "Oops." And that kind of thing is humor. Like Zappa, is there humor in music? Yes, there is.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and obviously this is probably like, I know this question's completely out of metal entirely, so you probably haven't heard much about it, but it's just because you work live. That's why I'm curious about your opinion, if you've studied it at all. Did you hear about years ago the hip hop artist Travis Scott, his concert, the whole collapsing, Utopia, the Astro World? You didn't hear about that?
No, I've not heard of it.
Oh, this rapper, he performed it was called Astro World. It's a big setup, like a theme park setup, and the whole set crumbled down, and a bunch of people got injured, and it was just like, there's a lot of blame in that. It's like, whose fault was it? Was it the rapper encouraging people to, like, apparently there was so many things, like it was overcrowded. He shouldn't have had that many people in. Some people blame the backstage for letting people in. It's just, and the set wasn't built properly compared to other live shows. And I was just curious if you heard about it at all.
I knew there was something happened. There's been a couple of times it's happened in Europe. I think there's one of Madonna's stage productions, maybe 10 years ago. Half the set collapsed when they were setting up. So they're just like, we need to pull this show because obviously health and safety. It can happen. Look at that. Very famous festival in America, been going on for like 40 something years. And there was a Netflix special about it.
Woodstock,
yeah. Watching that last thing about what actually happened there, that was just wow.
Yeah.
There was even a festival, and I think it was called the Mexico Metal Fest, and everyone was waiting for Slipknot, and there was some delay. There wasn't enough security there, and in the end, the crowd stormed the stage and destroyed all this band's gear and set fire to it. And the band were like, "Wow, okay." So but with the whole production thing, it's down to the production manager really to make sure things are flat, or the health and safety guy. I've done shows when there hasn't been barriers, and I've always said, like, do you have any extra security just in case? But with black metal bands, you don't get people stage diving. With death metal gigs and thrash gigs, there's a lot of it. So you have to make sure the artist is safe, and so is the audience. Because I know the Dealing to Escape Plan, the old singer used to run across the crowd on people's heads. He used to do that kind of thing at the end of the set, and it's just like, I wouldn't want to be there and someone just put their foot on my head and my head basically snapping my neck. So these crazy thing happens at shows, and you get people climbing up the rigging and all kinds of stuff. So you can't control the artist really a lot of the time. So Airborne used to do that as well. He used to climb up the truss on the side with his guitar and do his solo hanging upside down, and just climb down. It's just like, okay. But yeah, I think he's
going back to Woodstock, like Limp Bizkit played the song Break Stuff. It's like, how can you play that and like expect a calm audience?
Yeah, I've seen the documentary, and I watched it. It's just like, wow. I've been to festivals. It's been craziness, but I've never been there when the whole front of house was being torn down. It's just like, you never know. Because like in Latin America, it's just, I don't know, you just see the crowd and they are crazy. But if there's a circle pit going around the front of house position, it's just like, all right, cool, they're having fun. I hope the band play well. So, you never know. So.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite live albums?
Favorite live albums? Can't really say I listen to live albums, to be honest. Live After Death, obviously, Maiden thing. No Sleep Till Hammersmith, I guess. Motorhead, like the classic ones, really. Like live albums now, there isn't. It's just too polished. I think what I've heard about this is a live recording. It's like, it's like watching Kiss. Is the audience like on tape, or are they actually there? It's too polished for live albums now. Having something raw. There is a live recording of Carpathian Forest which I recorded the show, gave it to the guitar player Mattis, and he put it into Pro Tools. Did some minor effects to it. There's a bit of feedback during the show, and it's like, this is a live gig. I'm hoping they'll release it because it's a long album, but it's fun. It's a live concert, and you can tell it's live.
Yeah.
But live albums, never really listened to, really. So I have a friend who's a massive Manowar fan and follows them around the world and listen to all the live albums, and I'm just like, fine. Yeah. Not for me personally. So.
Yeah, for me, and this is a very obscure choice. It's not by any means. I don't think it's I'm pretty sure this album isn't on any list or anything, but it's an album I have. It's an album that I bought. I actually bought this when I was a teenager, when I at the CD store near my house. But the band Him, the Finnish band, it was a live at the Orpheum Theatre, 2008.
Yeah.
Because it came with a DVD. It came with the CD Venice Doom, which is the album, and then DVD. And I play that all the time. I love that band. So them live, they sound pretty good live.
He's back again, Valo. He's
Oh,
doing
well.
his own solo thing now. He played in Norway a few weeks ago at this big festival called Tons of Rock and Lot. There was lots of girls screaming there apparently, but he's still got the voice.
Man,
Still playing
like,
the game. It's like, okay, he does his thing, but
yeah, he would be for me. Like for me, he would be like, if I could choose anyone to interview out of anyone, he would be my top 3, easy. Like I've listened to him since I was a teenager. Him.
Yeah.
Love that dude.
I've never seen them actually, so I have friends who really love the band and they saw them back in the day. But a lot of Finnish friends, but for me, I'm just like, all right, it's kind of, can I say pop rock? Because
Yeah.
it's it could be in the charts, kind of the stuff. So
Love metal. That's one of the albums, Love Metal.
yeah, and the heartogram is a bit like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. Each to their own on that one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like I gotta say, this has really been one of the most interesting conversations I've had because it's not very often. It's not very often I interview anyone besides the artists themselves. So I always love digging deep and learning about the backstage, learning about the details that I would otherwise not know about, talking to artists. So yeah, again, thank you again for the conversation.
Not a problem. No, it's been fun.
Yeah. And I'll make sure because every week we upload the so this one will be uploaded next week. And I'll obviously send it to you once it's all polished and my editing up. Again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Problem. Yeah,
all right, thank you very much. Have a good day.
You asked me before, so cheers, bye.
Thank you very much.